and gentlemen, this is a night of misfortune. Back again, I know it's been a while, with Serpent's Open July tournament. We have 14 players duking it out today over the course of 5 rounds for the last chance to qualify for the summer tournament final, an invitational final that is very, very hard to get to, if we're being completely honest. We already have about 8 players, I think, that have already qualified, maybe 7. And we are waiting on this tournament to determine the last 4 or 5. Actually, it might be 6. But anyway, a lot of spots are open, and that is why these 14 players, it is so crucial for them to do well here. And now we have our first round match between 2 newcomers to the Serpent's Open. We have on the left-hand side of Waystation Zeta, spawning in purple, hailing from Russia, detecting desyncs apparently. He is spawning as the AN commander and opening up with 1 air and double a land here, and his commander is being a little bit of unactive, but we'll give him a break. I think he's trying to figure out what's going on. We did get a desync at the very beginning, but I think it's fine now. And his opponent, the first ever player in the SCS from South Africa, it is TechBlade, spawning as the purple UEF commander, already plopping down a triple land factory. And I've got to say, these builds are already very nice. I like both of these builds. It's going to be a little tighter for Johan on the mass side, but I think he'll be fine. It's all going to come down, honestly, how they engage, how aware they are of the map. And I got to say that Johan already has his radar up, so that's going to be quite nice. And I'm a little surprised that Johan didn't go with bots here. Harvogs are really, really good on this map, as we've seen multiple times. And yeah, both players are going to move towards the center. I think maybe TechBlade wanted to scout here, so he's sending 3 tanks. I don't like the 3 tank idea. I think 1 tank is enough here, and he's going to walk into the commander and lose all of the tanks. And if Johan micros well, he should not lose a single tank here. TechBlade trying to micro a little bit, but does not quite work out. It's pretty difficult actually to micro against Commander, just in general fire here. The Johan is going to keep pushing here. Let's see if he reclaims the mass. He does. Very nicely played. The Johan, by the way, while he's a newcomer to the open tournaments, he is our winner for the Liga C league. So he already qualified to the final, but this would be nice experience for him to practice against more top tier players to see where he stands. And I think he's quite excited to probably play in that final, because not very many players from Liga C go, actually only 1, unless they do really well in the Serpent's Opens, and then they'll get to go to the final. But we'll see here after 5 rounds who does end up going to the final. I'm hoping there's some big names in this tournament. If you look at the bracket, there's a lot of players that are playing their first Serpent's Open for a long time. And I gotta say, I think this is our best lineup of players that we've had so far this year. Maybe, well, actually, no, maybe only February or January had a better lineup. But this is definitely a really, really exciting tournament. Gotta say, both players are expanding quite nicely. I want to say that Johan is just a little bit ahead. I'm not sure where the expanding engineer for TechBlade has gone, so we don't see that expansion. Last mass getting filled up and no expansion towards the top. There's a lonely tank flanking here. I don't expect it to get too much, but if TechBlade doesn't pick that up on that, he will have a little bit of difficulties going forward. It looks like the Johan has been stockpiling air this whole time. I don't think I've seen him scout, so it should be a nasty surprise here for TechBlade, but he is down on tanks as a result. We do have Shajas coming out, so that will be quite nice. And I'm a little surprised TechBlade is not pushing forward here. I think he should see, we do have a radar here, so he should see this push coming out. He still hasn't picked up on this tank. It would be a shame if one tank picks off a mass extractor, but it looks like that's what's going to happen here, as TechBlade still has not responded. The Johan is going to move back. He doesn't really have enough planes to really overpower this super quickly, but I think his tank count is getting there as well. And a couple with those Shajas, if he micros well, we can definitely see some nice results here from him. There is a point defense coming out. That's I think it's a little too far, if anything, and I don't necessarily advise building PDs at this stage of a game, especially when you're up on tanks, because this is a very defensive play, and now you kind of wasted some mass, and there's air that's going to be coming in here. And I like what the Johan is doing here. He's going to bombard this tank. He thinks it's an engineer, but absolutely, you want to try and shut down your expansions. And I think TechBlade is responding quite nicely here. He is going to utilize this opportunity to push out this this tank, because he should have the advantage here. Unfortunately, his micro is not the greatest here. His commander is lagging a little bit behind. Johan's ACU does manage to tank quite a bit of damage, and there's actually a PD here, so this is a really nice engagement for Johan. And you know, TechBlade is clumping here, but unfortunately he is not doing enough damage. He's focusing down the commander. Johan is healing the PD. Very nice stuff here from our Russian player. And TechBlade is going to be forced to retreat here. Honestly, not a bad game. I think minus the PD, TechBlade did most of the things right here. Unfortunately, still not picking up on this tank. And this engineer is going to go down, shutting down his expansion quite considerably. So the Johan should be in firm control here, even though I think he's still a little down on tanks. But the Shajas and this air definitely do equate. And I think he has shown a little bit better micro. And I think the second mass extractor is going to go down to a single tank. That's quite sad here, but very well played by the Johan. One tank paying off. I think that's the most skilled tank I've seen in the SCS for a long time. We do have a factory coming down here in the center. The Johan is playing this nice and safe, and I think I really like it, because if you push too hard here, you know, you might run into this PD and you might have a lot of issues. I would really like to see some mobile missile launchers. Let's see if the Johan transitions into that. And there's a mass extractor that goes down, and another mass extractor, but finally TechBlade picks up on that. Quite unfortunate. I wonder if there's a little bit of streaming jitters going on, but I do want to stream and showcase as many players as possible. I know there's great matchups right now, but honestly, guys, how many times have you seen Iron Commander and Fox Shermelin play? The answer is a lot. And I will definitely cast those games in the finals, as I'm sure both of those players will qualify. I will be really surprised if Iron Commander doesn't qualify today. He's still yet to get those points or get that qualification, but he's one of those players that I expect to be one of those 6 to be going to the season final. And the only reason why he hasn't really qualified yet is because he hasn't played the league this season. But otherwise, I think he should be good. We do have an installation on this factory for the missile launcher. That will do it quite nicely as well. It's going to target down. What are we targeting down here? Oh, it looks like it's targeting down the ACU, actually. It's quite unfortunate with the targeting. The Johan does manage to pick off another mass extractor, and now it is very rough for TechBlade. I think he realizes it. He knows that he will get slowly outspammed here if he doesn't do anything. So he's going to push out. Maybe I would have waited for this reinforcement blob here, but I do think this is going to end up not being a successful push here. As Spiff would say, this has to be a pretty loud hurrah here, and it doesn't end up being so. Very well played by the Johan. Nice, safe, effective, surprising air, and a nice flank by a single tank, and a really good expansion as well. I didn't see a whole lot wrong with the way that Johan played. Maybe a little bit of a miss micro there towards the earlier stages of the game, but otherwise very solid win from our Liga C winner. And we are going to go to a short break and be back with Game 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2 between the TechBlade And the Johan, well, TechBlade doesn't have the, but anyway, we do have the Johan taking a 1-0 lead. Let's go ahead and reintroduce our players and see what they're up to. On the right-hand side of Kai Prototype, a modded map for the SCS, we have TechBlade, our red UEF commander, opening up with a single land factory here. And it looks like going to be expanding with his engineers. I don't dislike that. It's going to put him a little behind in the beginning, but if he plays a good defensive game, that's going to overpower, I think, in the middle game. His opponent is not mixing things up, although he is going to get a little of a later land factory here. It is our purple and commander up 1-0 and hailing from Russia. It is the Johan. He missed the team tournament, unfortunately. He had a whole team named after him, but I'm glad he made it to this one. And he is going to be expanding also with an engineer, this time scouting with the air right away. And I think this is an overreaction by TechBlade, getting an air factory here and also revealing it, also getting an anti-air installation. That is a lot. And if I was the Johan, I would almost say just switch out of air at this point. I think that would be just fine. And, you know, this is a really nice counter to this early expand. So off again, the Johan is off to a great start here. And if he just has to find these engineers, he might not know it because there is a tricky third engineer being built by a TechBlade, so that might end up actually being good for him. But I would really love to see Johan scouting around for that second engineer at the very least. I want to say to hello to a couple people in my chat. Of course, there's a 5-minute delay, so fortunately I can't chat with you directly. But hello Alpha Hex, hello Savvy Nolo. I think he's TechBlade. I think he is. Not 100% sure, but hello to everybody else as well. We do have the Johan finding that engineer, so that's pretty good for him. And that expansion is going to get shut down right after that mass extractor is plopped down. So that's quite a bit of wasted mass here. And we do also, I don't think I mentioned this directly, but if you haven't noticed, the Johan is taking a really nice position here in the center. I really quite like that. And this is already beginning to look very unfortunate for TechBlade. I do wonder why there is so little tanks at this point. I think he overinvested into land, but he's also been expanding quite a bit. In regard to the qualification, so there was a question in the chat. Again, it's going to be a 5-minute later kind of description, but it all depends on obviously how many tournaments you play. Yes, the SCS has always been and always will be not only rewarding skilled players, but also how often they play. And it's still very possible to qualify from one tournament, especially if you win it. If you have a good run, it's very possible to qualify from just playing one tournament. But I don't think it's a stretch to play 2 quick Saturday tournaments every 3 months if you really want to qualify for the final. The better way to qualify for the finals is, of course, playing the leagues. So because there's quite a bit of spots qualifying from those. So that's a little bit of an easier way because there's just more players that qualify from it. And you have a little bit more freedom to play how you want to play your matches between scheduling and everything. But it's always been this way, even last year before I implemented Serpent's Opens. It's always been qualification based on largely the leagues. And it's actually now easier to qualify for final tournaments than it was before. And it gives people more flexibility because these tournaments are shorter than the Serpent's Opens last year were. And they give you more practice actually because everybody plays the same amount of matches. So it's an overall better system in my opinion. It's more fun to watch. More people play more matches. And it gives more opportunities to lower skilled players because it matches you based on your skill level in the beginning, and also it kind of matches you based on how well you're doing in the tournament as well. So the players that are winning are going to play against each other. So you can still gain points, and every single win matters because you get points for every single map win, not match win. So it ends up being very, very interesting, and I think it's totally plausible to qualify off of just 2 out of 3 tournaments if you do well in them. Especially if you win one, that's an automatic qualification. So that's how we had Vanity and the Bronx qualify so far. So whoever wins this one will automatically qualify without points. So yeah, there's multiple ways to qualify for the season final. And I told you, AlphaX, you should play in this tournament. You should have played. Sad that you haven't, but it is what it is, I suppose. All right, so we do have an engagement here incoming. Eventually, I think we're going to have this standoff. The Johan is once again ahead, although he does have had a nice expansion here until this engineer got picked off, and we're going to probably get all this mass picked off as well. Unfortunately, I didn't see what happened to TechBlade's air, but it kind of evaporated there. Nice engagement by the Johan again here. I think TechBlade actually doesn't have an upgrade on his tanks for range. I would be very surprised if he doesn't. That's a crucial error, I think, but he might have gone into build cost, build time for the air, which I guess would make sense. And yeah, I mean, he's playing very defensively. I think he ultimately is going to start realizing that this is exactly the same scenario as game 1. Again, building in this PD, TechBlade, if you're watching this, I don't know about these PDs, especially in this game where Johan has so many mobile missile launchers. And I would really suggest to the newer players, if you're just starting out playing, or maybe you're just not having great success against a lot of players that play these tournaments, I would really suggest practicing without point defenses and trying to get your micro and your builds to where they're decent without point defenses, because point defenses are really an oh shit kind of building or move or build. And it's not often very efficient. You got to be pretty good at utilizing them in an offensive manner, and this is a very defensive manner. Also, in a defensive manner, you have to use them pretty efficiently or pretty well. So it's honestly often a mistake, because a point defense is almost a factory in terms of cost. So if he reclaims a couple of these mass points from his tanks, which by the way he's losing quite a bit to MML Fire, I think. He could, these 3-point defenses, 4-point defenses could be an additional 2 factories right now, I think. And unfortunately, he's going to lose air here again. Very, very unfortunate. Although the air engagement actually doesn't go too terribly against him. Actually, he's going to end up winning here, I think. Johan doesn't manage to resupply himself here. And if only he had a couple more land factories, I think this would be looking decent. But also, Johan has just expanded ridiculously. Probably transitioning into teleport here, as there's a bunch of energy generators coming down, and he got a ridiculous amount of research from killing these mass extractors. I don't think he even cares about this air too much. Would not be super surprised if he stops air production here. Does end up losing his air, though. That's not crucial, though, because he's so far ahead, but even if they were even, these wasps aren't going to do anything. So I think he's pretty good here. Unless there's a second factory, it's really hard to keep producing wasps and bombers. So it does equate here, but TechBlade is honestly running out of time. There's a 3rd land factory out for Johan. There's going to be a 2nd air factory on the way. Very, very nice expansion again by the Johan. It's not the greatest speed, but also on this map, this is a fairly decent expansion. A lot of players play really, really early aggressive pushes on this map, so it becomes really rare for us to see actually a game go past 10 minutes. Usually we see, at the very top of play at least, we see games end before 10 minutes with artillery and all these things going at each other. And actually I don't see too much air on this map, which is a little curious to me. I think it is a good option, especially if you're playing versus an expanding player or you're expanding yourself. It's such a good mid-game play, and I think could be explored a little more. I think a lot of people don't give this map a whole lot of credit. Yes, it has a lot of choke points. Yes, it's kind of weird here, but I think there is a lot of possibilities that people don't see on this map. And I know I say that a lot about a whole different maps, but I think a lot of people in this community are a little narrow-minded about what maps are good and what maps are bad. Very unfortunate. Wow, this is like a ring of fire here by or a ring of death here by the Johan. He has PDs encircling this central point, and unfortunately TechBlade pushed right into it, so his tanks just evaporated there. And honestly, Johan, he's playing super safe. I think there's probably some kind of jitters, but also, you know, Legacy is you know, a little bit of less of a skill cap or a skill range, you know, so he's probably a little wary, and you know, this is his first official like big tournament he's playing in, so going to be very, very important for him to play safe and not mess up, because it is really easy, even though he's up on tanks, you know, walk into a bomber fire or something and lose your whole entire or a big portion of your land force or something else that you haven't scouted. So totally agree. Very nice and careful play by the Johan, and he's going to push this game out. Very solid 2 games. I'm really excited to see how ultimately the Johan performs in this tournament. Hopefully he does very well. He doesn't really need to qualify again from this tournament because he already qualified, but SCS points are pretty good in the end. So, you know, will be very, very good to have him in the final. All he has to do here is kill the ACU here. The air has evaporated here as well, and there's a lot of mass for the Johan to reclaim that he's not even bothering to reclaim. And yeah, very nicely played. We'll see who won round 1s, and we're going to try and my days are numbered. We're going to try to cast as many players as possible, but of course we're going to cast Hope. Of course we're going to cast Iron Fox, Jarek, who came back for this tournament, Soul Ripper, who came back for this tournament. A lot of awesome players, super excited, and hopefully we have a lot of good games this tournament and today. And you know, he's a newer player, so I'm not going to rip on him too much, but here it's a loss situation, and I would encourage players to honor their deaths as much as they honor their victories. He is going to die here, but very well played by TechBlade nevertheless. I haven't seen him play too much, but honestly, for the first time in your tournament, this is not bad. And I know that he's a newer player, so definitely a very well job by TechBlade, and even better job by the Johan. Congratulations on the win, and we'll wish them both luck in the upcoming rounds. So we are going to take a little break, see what's going on in the tournament, and we'll be back very, very shortly. If you're still watching, give a thumbs up to this video. If you liked the video, leave a comment. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you are blown away by it, check out my Patreon page. This has been Nite. Take care and peace out.